Hi, I'm Betsy, and this is CAM Matters. Come join us today as we'll be talking about a document that would be real important for you to know as a buyer in a community association. We're going to be looking at the frequently asked questions and answer sheet. And you should have gotten one of these when you moved in, and if you didn't, you need to ask for one. Come join us.
Welcome to CAM Matters, Condos, Co-ops, HOAs, and beyond. Betsy Barbieux is an informational leader in Florida on community association living, rights, and obligations. She is an expert on the rights and obligations of owners as well as the association. If you live or are planning to live in the state of Florida, there's a good chance you'll be part of a community association. And by the end of this show, you'll know a little bit more about community associations and why they matter.
Hi, welcome to CAM Matters. We're so glad that you're here today. I'm with Betsy Barbieux and Suzanne, Lynn. And today, Betsy, we're going to be talking about questions that you might want to ask the community that you're thinking about moving into. And this whole show was kind of prompted by the fact that you said only one person in your whole career has ever done that. That's shocking.
There are a lot of questions that you really need to be asking before you sign your contract.
Yeah.
Because I think there's some things that you really ought to know. And I have only ever had one person call me and give me the drill.
Right.
And ask me money questions, management questions, lawsuit questions.
Oh, good stuff.
Yes.
Well, you know, I'm always interested because you talk about people moving to Florida, which is where really your specialty is, and it's a whole different world. I mean, if you're used to living on a ranch or an acreage or something, when you get here and you're community living, you might be in for a surprise that you can't hang, wind chimes.
Or
something like that, right?
Or a wreath on your door, or fly a flag that's not an American flag.
Right. I always get in trouble with that one.
Or have guests at the pool that you just send over there by themselves. You might not be able to do that.
Are you sure that's not right?
You might not be able to do that.
Okay, well, we'll revisit that at a different show. But Betsy, let's start with a list of some of the common questions that you think people should really be educated on before they move into an association. So what are my voting rights in the condominium association?
Okay. And what you're looking at in the sheet that I've given you is what's called the frequently asked questions and answer sheet. And it is required by statute to be given from the seller to the buyer in every transaction in a condominium or cooperative association.
Okay, so every person has to have this.
Every person is supposed to have it. I teach that every week, so I know to do it, but I'm not sure that people are getting these as the new buyers. And you should also be getting a whole collection of these. Your favorite thing. Your favorite thing. You should get the whole collection of these too. But there's the frequently asked questions and answer sheet is just a really quick synopsis of some of the things about the community association.
But there's a whole lot more.
And there's a whole lot more.
Yeah.
Yes, a whole lot more.
Right.
But one of the things is your voting rights. There are some communities that the voting rights are based on square footage of your unit, and there's some that the voting right is one per unit or one per home.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. There are some that are square footage. So you need to know that.
So the bigger homes have maybe more power, more voting power.
Could be.
Interesting.
Could be.
There's a reason. That's a good upsell for a realtor.
Could be.
Hey, you want 2 votes? Get the 2-bedroom.
But from the management point of view, that's a nightmare in trying to count percentage voting.
Oh, no question.
Note to self, don't manage one of those. Yeah. I can't do the math.
All right, so the second question, and again, we're talking about questions that maybe you want to ask before moving into a community. What restrictions exist in the condominium documents on my right to use my unit?
Well, again, it could be that you can't rent your unit.
Okay.
You may have moved into a no rental community. It could be that you have moved into a community that you can rent your unit, but it has limitations, such as you may not be able to rent your unit for the first 2 years that you live there.
Okay.
And that is built in there to discourage investors from buying a bunch of units, because then they have to sit there vacant for 2 years.
Right.
So, or it could be you can only rent your unit 3 times a year for not less than 60 days each or something like that. So there could be rental restrictions, so you need to know that before you move.
And that wasn't really a huge issue before things like Airbnb and Vrbo came up, right? That's opened up a whole can of worms, right?
Yes, it has. And there are a lot of communities that are amending their documents to significantly restrict or prohibit the Airbnb and those kinds of rentals.
Understandable.
The problem with the short-term rentals like that is that it could impact your insurance.
That's a good point. And you never know when you're renting out on short term like that, is there the mindset of keeping things clean and, you know?
Right.
So, all right, let's move on to the next question. How much are my assessments to the condominium association for my unit type, and when are they?
Okay, assessments. You will be paying an assessment. Some people call it the condominium fee, dues, amenities fees, maintenance fee, HOA fee. You can call it whatever you want to. The statute calls it the assessment, and that's just the regular amount of money that an owner pays for their share of paying for the operations and maintenance of the community.
Okay. That's really important. We need to keep the standards up, right?
Right. I mean, somebody has to pay for all of the insurance. Right. Somebody has to pay for the lawn service. Somebody has to pay for, if you've got a pool, if you've got other amenities, someone pays for that. Someone pays for the salaries. And you have to also, by statute, save each month money to replace your big ticket items like the roof or the paving or painting the buildings. You have to save each month for that. So you need to know what your monthly assessments are and when they're due, because if you don't pay them on time, the association can charge a late fee. If it's in your documents, they can charge a late fee. They can charge interest. And if you continue to not pay, then there is a significant legal process that they will go through and record a claim of lien and foreclose the claim of lien and take your home from you. You're
not going to win. Just pay your bills, right? Just pay.
The original intent of the legislation was that the community would always be made whole for all the money that's due it. Because you can imagine in the beginning there were some owners who said, I don't want to pay, make me pay. Well, the legislator said, okay, we'll make you pay. Some legislation has whittled those sharp teeth down, and we might not in some cases get all that's due, but we can get most of it.
Okay.
And again, we have bills to pay. The community has bills to pay.
Yeah. As a community owner, this stuff just happens. Like, I don't know how it happens. Things are repaired, fences are painted. It's
who pays for the lights out here?
Yeah.
Who pays for the water?
Yeah, you don't think about that, but you do. You have to. I'll tell you what, we're going to come back. We've got some more questions right after this.
Are you ready for a new career? Do you have skills or interest in management, real estate, construction, maintenance, accounting, strategic planning, project management, budgets, human resource management, lawn and landscaping, pool services, or any other expertise needed to operate a community association? If you do, community association management could be for you. For more information, feel free to email Betsy at betsy@floridacamschools.com or visit the Florida Cam Schools website at www.floridacamschools.com. Florida Community Association Management continues to grow. Career opportunities abound.
Welcome back to CAM Matters. We are just covering some of the questions that you might want to consider asking before you move into a community association, because you might be surprised. So here are the most frequently asked questions. Would you just explain the document one more time?
The document, again, is the frequently asked questions in the answer sheet. And as a buyer, you are required by law, condominium law and cooperative law, not homeowner association, but condo and co-op law, to be given this sheet with this information.
Okay, so let's go. Do I have to be a member in any other association? If so, what is the name of the association and what are my voting rights in this association? Okay. Also, how much are the assessments?
Yes, and sometimes you have moved into a community within a bigger community.
What's that mean?
We call it a master association, and then it could have sub-associations.
Okay.
So it would be the master association, perhaps, and there are going to be all kinds of differences here, but for instance, the master association might own the clubhouse, the pool, and the streets.
Okay.
But then each community is its own association with its own set of documents.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
that community has a board of directors, and that community's owners pay an assessment to maintain that part of the community.
Okay.
But then the master has a board of directors and has an assessment to pay for the pool, streets, and clubhouse.
Okay.
So it could be that when you move into a community, you'll end up paying 2 assessments.
Okay.
You will pay one to the master,
Okay.
and then you will pay one to your community, your
Okay.
sub-association.
Okay. But you're not paying twice. I mean, you're paying once for the pool and once for, I mean,
Correct,
yeah,
correct.
Yeah.
You're paying, if the master owns the clubhouse, pool, and streets,
Right.
then that's what that assessment is paying
Right.
for. But it's possible that your community also has its own community pool.
Oh.
And
Wow.
so those fees that you're paying your sub-association are for that pool, but you might have 2 pools that you can use.
Okay. Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense.
You might have 2 pools.
I don't know how you explained it, but I got it. I actually understand. You might have a world within a world that you're having to pay for.
It's a master with sub-associations.
Interesting.
And I did training a couple of times down in South Florida with an association that was a master with 18 sub-associations.
Whoa! Is that? I mean, the closest I can understand with the villages is that
It's a different
the whole
breed.
different app.
Yeah,
no,
that's
okay,
a whole
we're not even
different
going
breed. We're
there.
not going
Okay, okay. Another question: am I required to pay rent or land use fees for recreational or other commonly used facilities? If so, how much am I obligated to pay annually?
Okay. And it could be that instead of this being a master association, that this is a corporation that leases the facilities to the community
Okay.
and leases the clubhouse and pool.
So it's owned by them, but then it's leased
and
out
then
to the
they
community.
lease
Right.
it to the
Okay.
community. So you would be, the community then on its budget is paying lease payments for that clubhouse and pool.
What's the benefit to that? Like insurance and upkeep and things like that? Or?
I don't know the benefits. I can see downside more than benefits, but these are things that developers set up and turn over to us,
Right.
and then we're left.
We can't
to deal
get
with
into
it.
the heads of
We're
it.
We're
We
left
just have
deal
to
with it.
abide by
You
the
know,
rules.
And I'm going to say the benefit was probably to the developer who owned the company that owns the property that's being leased. The benefit's probably to them.
Right. Gotcha. So you just
It's
have
gotta
the
be
rules?
money.
It always
It's
is
either
money.
zoning or money.
Right. Okay, next question, and this is a really important one. You said this especially is important. Is the condominium association or other mandatory membership associations involved in any court cases? And if it is, what may face liability in excess of $100,000?
You would think that people would want to know this, but I don't think that most buyers think of our communities as being corporations.
Right.
And they don't think in terms of being subject to a lawsuit. But can you imagine all of the potential liability issues
Right. There's
in a
tons.
community association?
We just assume it's all taken care of, that it's covered, everybody knows,
And
everybody's the expert.
If the association is sued, you would want to know that, and you would want to know if it's being, I don't know who chose the $100,000
Right.
limitation there, but if the community is subject to litigation that could subject it to paying more than $100,000, then they need to notify the potential owner, because if the community loses that lawsuit,
What happens?
cha-ching, 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 we're paying our attorney's fees and likely the other side attorney's fees, and then whatever punitive damages or whatever else is being sued, the amount that's being sued
And
for.
that falls all on the owners.
And the association then has to pay it, so each owner gets special assessed for their fair share.
That's when you don't want to be special.
Right, that's not special.
Right, it's
Yeah,
not
special assessments are not special.
And
No.
can I just say that $100,000 is chump change?
Is chump change
That's
in
nothing.
today's litigation world. Yeah, you would want to know if the association is involved in lawsuits, and I know several are because of the recent storm years,
Oh, sure.
and they're in lawsuits with their contractors or insurance companies and things like that.
I would feel a lot more comfortable if there was one more zero on that to be covered. I mean, because $100,000 is
Doesn't-
not much.
Well,
so-
but but 100,000 or up.
Okay, I got you.
So it's
under
100,000 or up.
Okay.
Is what that's for. And in addition, there would be all other kinds of questions that you ought to ask. You ought to ask about the fiscal condition. Are the reserves adequate? What about management? Does the board get along? Are there any?
Does the board get along?
Are there any
Nobody
issues
would move into any
on?
community. That was the requirement.
Stay out on the back 40.
Right.
But there are
Great question.
There would be management issues that you need to know that you should be curious about.
Sure. Good. Well, I feel a whole lot more knowledgeable now, and if I ever moved, these are really important questions.
Not really. She's scared.
I'm scared. I'm just going to move back to South Dakota or New Jersey or something where there's, anybody can do what they want, But Betsy, thank you. This was a great topic today, and we appreciate you being
You're
part
certainly
of
welcome.
this. Yeah.
You're certainly welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to CAM Matters. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. For more information, feel free to email Betsy at betsy@floridacamschools.com or visit the Florida Cam Schools website at www.floridacamschools.com. Information provided on this show is general in nature and does not constitute legal advice. Please contact a licensed attorney for your specific situation.